U.S. President Donald Trump has escalated his legal battle over tariffs by formally petitioning the United States Supreme Court, asking it to overturn a lower court decision that ruled many of his sweeping import taxes illegal. The petition, filed late on Wednesday night, urges the justices to intervene quickly and affirm that the president has the authority to impose tariffs on foreign nations under emergency powers, a move Trump has consistently defended as essential for protecting America's economic and national security interests. This comes after the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, in a closely divided 7-4 ruling last week, declared that the tariffs imposed through the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA, exceeded presidential authority, noting that the power to levy taxes and duties rests squarely with Congress as a core constitutional function. The ruling, if it stands, could not only strike down one of Trump's most high-profile trade policies, but also force the United States to refund billions of dollars collected in tariffs from foreign imports, potentially derailing both economic and diplomatic negotiations already in progress. Trump said on Wednesday, September 3rd, the U.S. might have to unwind trade deals it reached with the European Union, Japan, and South Korea, among others, if it loses a Supreme Court tariffs case, and warned that a loss would cause the U.S. to suffer so greatly.
We're in a much better position. We have trillions of dollars coming into our country. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be a very poor nation, and we would be taken advantage of by every other nation in the world, friend and foe. We're not going to let that happen. And we have a very, very big case in the Supreme Court. I can only say this, our country has a chance to be unbelievably rich again, but it can also be unbelievably poor again. If we don't win that case, our country is going to suffer so greatly.
What's the backup plan, sir?
But I think we're going to have a big victory.
Trump had originally justified these tariffs by declaring an economic emergency back in April, arguing that persistent trade imbalances were undermining domestic manufacturing and had grown into a threat to national security, thereby triggering his powers under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. While the appellate court ruled against the president, it postponed the immediate effect of its decision, giving the Trump administration time to prepare and file its Supreme Court appeal. In the government's petition, Solicitor General John Sauer stressed the gravity of the case, writing that the stakes could not be higher and warning that the appellate court's erroneous decision had already disrupted sensitive diplomatic trade negotiations while casting a shadow of legal uncertainty over Trump's broader economic strategy. But lawyers representing small businesses that had challenged the tariffs struck a confident note, arguing that the levies were unlawful, harmful, and jeopardizing the survival of thousands of enterprises, and expressing hope that the Supreme Court would swiftly bring the matter to a close in their favor. One of their lead attorneys, Jeffrey Schwab of the Liberty Justice Center, said, "These unlawful tariffs are inflicting serious harm on small businesses and jeopardizing their survival. We hope for a prompt resolution of this case for our clients." If the Supreme Court justices refuse to hear the case, the appellate ruling would automatically take effect on the 14th of October, striking down the tariffs and opening the door for refund claims. Trump's contested tariffs included a baseline 10% levy on more than 90 countries, as well as so-called reciprocal tariffs, designed to match or punish nations that, in his view, engaged in unfair trade practices against the United States. The appellate ruling also struck down tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, which Trump had argued were vital to prevent the inflow of illegal drugs into the United States. However, it did not affect other duties such as those on steel and aluminum, which had been imposed under separate presidential authority. The outcome of this case could reshape the balance of power between the presidency and Congress in setting trade policy, and could directly impact businesses, consumers, and America's global trading partners. As the Supreme Court prepares to weigh in, all eyes will be on Washington. For more such updates on U.S. politics, world economy, and global developments, don't forget to subscribe to the Indian Express.